So I'm going to read the first couple pages of a brand new story, and this is called Special. I've never read this. So, Special. As soon as Violet sees him at the airport, she knows she's made a terrible mistake. Dave is wearing board shorts, bright orange, and shiny framed sunglasses pushed up onto his head. Surrounded by a cloud of deplaning passengers, he looks exactly the same as he did when they were together in college. It's not just the square head and smushed-in nose. It's his expression of pleased anticipation, as though someone has just called out his name. He scans the waiting area for Violet. She thinks of running back towards the parking garage. The muscles of her thighs actually contract, a brief spasm, but then his eyes catch on her and his face breaks out into a wide grin. Belatedly, she raises her hand, flagging him down like a cab. Dave opens his arms wide to give her an enveloping hug, rocking her from side to side so that first one of her feet, then the other, leaves the ground. They haven't seen each other in close to 6 years, and she'd forgotten that he smells amazing, a mixture of soap and sun that blooms open inside her sinuses. "My girl," Dave says, "little girl." She pulls back from the hug. "You know, it's kind of cold here. Did you bring jeans or something?" "It's California," he says, exuberant. "I'm in California." You've heard what they say, though. The coldest winter I ever spent was summer in San Francisco. She hates when people pull out this tired quote. Inside, she's scrambling for purchase. He's paid a lot of money to come here, the ticket even more expensive because it's open-ended, in case they decide he should stay for good. If she tells him now to leave, he will have wasted all that money. But if he stays a week, that's a reasonable visit for a $600 ticket. Almost. All she has to do is get through a week and do it without making Dave hate her. Thank God Dave has luggage. Thank God there's a long wait, the passengers around them shifting restively, muttering. Thank God Dave's luggage is nearly the last off the plane, a lumpy red and yellow backpack that totters a moment at the mouth of the chute before tumbling heavily down. "Hey, I recognize that," she says, and is relieved to hear that she sounds like the Violet of yore. Big red. Dave hefts the bag up and over one shoulder. It is probably big enough to hold Violet. Her shortness is the single thing that she hates most about herself, or at least used to be before this last year. Riding up to the parking garage, Dave says, "You look different." Different, good or bad? Just, I don't know, different. In the months they've been back in contact, she's been sure that she'd broken up with Dave in college only out of immaturity. Only now does she remember how he can't defend his opinions, those few he even ventures. The bouncy walk, like he's a marionette or something. He has a huge penis, which sounds like a plus, but in his case is actually a blunt instrument. Oh, God, she's going to have to sleep with him. They make their way down the row of cars, early afternoon sunlight glancing off the windshields, until Violet stops and waves at her white Honda Civic. "So, this is me." For 6 months, she drove around with a shattered side mirror, but last week, in anticipation of Dave's visit, she spent $300 she very much did not have to get the mirror replaced. Dave reaches for her hand, interlacing his fingers with hers. "Are you happy to see me?" She's disappointing him. She can't stand the idea of being less than he expected. "So happy." She squeezes his hand and then lets go. 1 week. It was during rehab that the idea of Dave had started up in her. The other women at Surmount were kicking real drugs. Even the alcoholics, mostly older and married, gulping fruit juice all day long, the glasses slipping sometimes from their trembling hands to bounce on the plush mauve carpet, turned out to be higher status than being a pothead like Violet. Parentheses. Is pot even like an addiction, really? Asked beautiful 20-year-old Alyssa Link. Close parentheses. At night, they watched movies, 28 Days, When a Man Loves a Woman. The cool girls like Alyssa curling up on the orange couch, snuggled together and eating over-salted popcorn. They seemed a little in awe of themselves, the destruction they'd wreaked. They had collapsed veins, destroyed livers. Cocaine had burnt a hole through Alyssa Ling's undoubtedly lovely septum. Violet just had hands that sweated, a thick, skunky sweat that she wiped incessantly on her jeans. The cool girls cried a lot too, but it seemed cathartic for them, filling them afterwards with new resolve. Whereas Violet, she cried until her body just couldn't do it anymore, until every part of her ached, until her hands were covered in snot. The one time she talked to Marshall on the phone, she cried so hard she began to choke. Some mornings she woke crying. She couldn't bear the absolute emptiness of her life without pot. Or maybe without pot, she couldn't bear the absolute emptiness of her life. The patheticness of the thought made her cry harder. Crouching on the floor of the shower, she beat her head with her fists while some small, amazed part of her stood by and said, "You're actually hitting your head with your fists." Thank you.